Ohio State's offensive line did not look good in the spring. We were told they liked what they saw from the offensive line in preseason camp. I don't think they liked what they saw from the offensive line here on the season opener. 23-3 victory for the Buckeyes over Indiana. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com along with Andrew Gillis and Stephen Means. But not an offensive line performance that I think leaves them a lot of confidence as they look ahead to games like Notre Dame, games like Wisconsin. So, Andrew, just your immediate thoughts, like how concerning is the offensive line, and maybe what do you think is maybe the quickest fix to this?
I think unsettling is probably the word, because like you said, you had heard so much, okay, this actually might be, better than people thought. I think Ryan Day said that exactly, that he thought, the offensive line was kind of better than where he thought it was going to be. The thing, I think the saving grace, if I could be Mr. Optimistic for a second, I think the saving grace is, and I hate to be a coach, I do want to go back and rewatch some of this. I do want to go watch the film, so to speak. I think they were more mental errors than anything else. Like, there was one play where, I saw Josh Simmons go outside, and he immediately went to kick out the end, and a linebacker shot the gap, had a tackle for loss. But then there was another play, I think it was Devin Brown's series, where he just let somebody cross right in front of his face, and you lose yardage there. So to me, it was a lot of mental stuff. Now, the problem is you're not going to see a defensive line this good until you play Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is a team who can actually hurt you offensively. So that's where this worry would kind of come in for me, is that, if you have some offensive line breakdowns in a game like this, it's not going to hurt you because Indiana's terrified to throw the ball. In a game against Notre Dame, in a game against Penn State, in a game against Michigan, those types of games, that's where it's going to hurt. So you've got to fix this now. I think I want to go back and look at how much of this was stunts, how much of this was twists and things like that Indiana was doing to confuse Ohio State's offensive line. But, yeah, not great. I do think more of the mistakes that they made were mental, just kind of off first watch. So I'm curious to see how that holds up.
2 transfers played a big role in this game. Andre Carter was a transfer that Indiana got from Western Michigan. I know that's the MAC, but he was pretty great in the MAC last year. He had like 7.5 sacks. Comes to Indiana and really kind of had his way at times with Ohio State's transfer from San Diego State, Josh Simmons. Stephen, how quickly, is the personnel a problem? Do they need to change the personnel? Do you think you have to kind of ride things out with Josh Simmons simply because this is also a guy switching from right tackle to left tackle and having to move up a level at the same time?
I'm willing to give it another week because I don't think that's fair to, like you just said, he's moving from right tackle to left. But it's my issue with the offensive line today was if you told me the offensive line struggled with something but they were good in another area, I would have said, oh, okay, they run blocked well. And the pass pro wasn't that great because that's typically the case. Cool. That'll get better as the season progresses. I didn't think the pass pro was that big of a problem. Now, Kyle McCord had to do some things with his feet every so often, but that's anybody. That's any situation. But that was pretty good. The run blocking was an issue again, especially in the short yardage. 3rd and 2, doesn't get it, and then they've got to throw the ball. They didn't get it. 3rd and 2, doesn't get it, now they got to throw the ball. Kyle McCord throws an interception. Right now, I feel like it's a year ago, again, where it's Ohio State can't convert short yardage runs. And the question is, are they going to keep banging their head up against that brick wall, or are they just going to throw the ball? I don't know if the answer is just to throw the ball in every situation or just keep trying it until it works, but there's got to be a middle ground somewhere where I do agree with Ryan Day. 3rd and 2, you've got to be able to convert that more often than they did today, and they didn't convert it at all. And that's a problem because that's going to show up against Michigan. It's going to show up against Notre Dame. It's going to show up against Penn State, who has a much better defensive line than what we saw today against Indiana. Yep. It's going to show up against better teams. So if you can't convert in those situations, well, also you've got a brand new starting quarterback, then everybody's so scared of his weapons, you got to fix that. You got to be able to run the ball to take some of the pressure off of this new starting quarterback, regardless of who it is.
Yeah, Ohio State 2 of 11 on 3rd downs today, and not all of them were short yardage situations, but the ones that were really stood out. And listen, this is a problem that goes back, and it doesn't just go back to the spring. We talked 2 years ago about how this situation was potentially awaiting Ohio State in 2023. If it did not go out and solve the left tackle, either through recruiting or through the portal, this is where they could be. And I agree with Andrew. We're going to have to look at the film, and Stephen and I actually are going to do that, and this will probably be a big topic of conversation on the Monday Buckeye Talk. So get Buckeye Talk wherever you can find podcasts. But this is not a overnight problem, and they thought that they had maybe solved it with this transfer, and I think Josh Simmons does have to step up at some point because they do have other options in this program that they like. They've been very complimentary of Luke Montgomery and what he's done as a true freshman. They like what Tegra Shabola is long-term as a offensive lineman. Maybe they have to get a little bit weird with it and look at other people. And do you go back to the Donovan Jackson maybe is your best offensive lineman, so you should play left tackle conversation? We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but as both of these guys are saying, you can't have an offense this good and have it be undermined by what the offensive line is doing. You have to get the offensive line to a point where it's playing just capable enough. So I agree. Indiana's defensive line is good. It's the best unit on Indiana's team, I think. And I think you could probably see that unfold over the course of the year. And Andre Carter is a really good player, and maybe he's like an all-Big Ten player by the end of this year. I don't know. But you've got to do better than what it looked like today, and especially as Steven is saying, you've got to convert those short yardage running situations. You can't put your back against the wall because, as Andrew was saying, a good team is going to hurt you. Get the text, 614-350-3315, because as Ryan Day and the rest of this program are talking about things like the offensive line,